I'm going to go ahead and give you guys a quick intro about BAF and BAF events. I'm Noor. I'm project manager at Blockchain Acceleration Foundation. And this event is co-organized by BAF and Blockchain at San Diego. A quick context about our NGO. We are a 501c3 nonprofit that starts university accredited blockchain courses. We build projects, we connect our members to opportunity industry, and we are actually governed by the leaders of our affiliated university blockchain clubs like Blockchain at San Diego. We're very thankful for the support that we keep getting from our sponsors who made all of this work possible. BAF is actually funded by Algorand Foundation, Protocol Labs, Ethereum Foundation, and other incredible individual sponsors. We're super happy to co-organize this week's event with the leadership team at UC San Diego. Today we have Pan, who is the president of the Blockchain Club at San Diego. And we're excited to dive into the future of DeFi and DAOs with our speaker, Zefram, who is founder of 88 MPH, which is a non-custodial fixed yield rate protocol. So thank you, Zefram, for joining us today. Also, special thanks for our content team led by Alexis, who couldn't make it today, but Alexis put a lot of hard work in promoting this event. So thanks to the content and marketing team of BAF. Anyways, without further ado, I'm going to leave the floor to Pan, who is the president of Blockchain at San Diego. He's going to be moderating this event. And I'm going to leave the floor to Pan and Zefram. Thank you guys for coming.
Thank you, first of all, to Zefram for taking the time out of his day to chat with us today. I'll just give a little intro about Based. So my name is Pan. I'm from Blockchain at San Diego. Based is a student organization, Blockchain at San Diego, that is aimed at educating students about Web3 and crypto, facilitating building crypto and blockchain projects, and then also connecting students with potential job opportunities in the space. So we're super excited today to talk about DAOs with Zef, who is actually a UCSD alum himself, and he's been building really, really cool projects like a DeFi protocol called 88 miles per hour, Sudoswap, and AstroDrop. So welcome, Zefram. Hope you're having a good day. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Yeah, and one correction, I'm still at UCSD actually.
Oh, you're still at UCSD. Awesome. Yeah, that's dope. Are you still doing your master's?
Yeah. I'm graduating in December, so very soon.
Oh, sweet. So graduating early then.
Yeah.
So from your real name?
That's yes and no. Like, it's not my legal name per se, but I do use it with my IRL friends.
Oh, that's awesome. When did it start catching on?
Like right about when I started college.
Oh, that's sweet. That's super cool. Yeah, I guess for those that don't know Zefram, he is he's a master's student, and he's been building in crypto for quite a long time, and he has quite a long background in crypto. So I guess to kick it off, could you tell everyone a little background about yourself and kind of your journey at UCSD, because there's definitely some Tritons here today, and how you really got into crypto?
Yeah. So I came to UCSD in 2017 as a freshman, and I was in crypto like a few months before that. So right, but like at the point when I came to UCSD, I was already like very deep to Ethereum. So my time at UCSD has mostly been used on just building decentralized apps on Ethereum.
Oh, that's awesome. So did you like get into it in high school? Like, how did you find out about it at the start?
Yeah, like it was like senior year of high school. Just kind of stumbled upon it, and like I first learned about Bitcoin, and like right after that I learned about Ethereum, and I was like, hey, this is so much cooler. So I just jumped straight into like Solidity, because that was something that I could do, like write smart contracts, whereas with Bitcoin you just kind of hold it.
Hmm. That's awesome. So you were like developing, or were you developing like doing web dev or anything like that before you found Ethereum, or did you start like doing smart contract work as your first foray into programming?
I mean, I started programming when I was in middle school. Like I was
Wow.
doing like iOS apps back then. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, so definitely you you were able to jump into it pretty fast then, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
That's awesome.
And I also,
So,
study CS, computer science at UCSD.
mhm. Why did you decide to do like grad school? Was that something that you planned ahead of time, or did you kind of like just do that out of the blue?
Uh, yeah, that was kind of just planned, but it was planned before like anything I did in crypto became successful. So like I don't I don't feel that strongly about like doing grad school, to be honest.
Yeah, and I guess you're breezing through it because yeah, you're graduating pretty early for yeah, for the normal track.
Yeah, yeah.
So I guess we can go on to um like more crypto related discussion. I guess a lot of people in UCSD right now, including a lot of my colleagues in CS as well, they're recruiting for like internships and like full-time jobs for like software engineering. And I guess the big focus here at UCSD, or I guess in computer science program, is to try and get into like the big tech companies like FANG, all the Silicon Valley companies. Why did you kind of decide to stick to crypto, or like decide to go in crypto rather than going to like the standard path of recruitment?
Yeah. Um uh I guess like I've always just wanted to do my own thing and build a startup, build my own product instead of like working for someone else. Uh I mean I did try to go through like the big tech route like in freshman year, like with all the internships and all that, but that was like um it wasn't really that interesting to me, like when they, pitch what they're doing at the big tech companies. If I looked at non-crypto startups, it was like even less interesting. It's like, do I really want to spend my time optimizing like food delivery or something? It was like, eh,
Yes, yeah, I totally feel that, and
yeah.
I guess that's why are kind of here today. So I guess you've been talking a little bit about like building your own project, like doing your own thing. And I know because I've been like a fan of you for a minute now. Saw the things that you're building and think they're like super cool projects. Could you introduce to people who don't really know what you're doing, like what you're actually building out? Maybe you can start with like I guess I'm not sure if you would consider this the most successful, but from my eye, 88 miles per hour was currently your most successful project.
Yeah, it is. So ADMPH is a fixed interest rate protocol on Ethereum, essentially. So what we do is we integrate with floating yield protocols like Compound, Aave, Wire, etc. And we do a bit of uh, math and accounting on our side to provide our users with a fixed rate instead of a floating rate.
Right. So, could you kind of explain what I guess like the big differences are for fixed rate and floating rate? Maybe not just the definition, but like kind of how you achieve that.
Yeah. So like we achieve a fixed rate by basically pulling users' deposits together and balancing out the different different interest rates that we promise them and a different interest rate that they can get based on like the time of deposit. So for instance, like if someone makes a deposit right now and the floating rate is like 10%, we can offer them like say 5%. And say a month later, the floating rate dropped to like 5%, and another person comes and wants to deposit their money. So we can offer them, 2.5%. And these two deposits can basically like balance each other out with one deposit having more floating rate interest than the promised fixed rate, and the other having the opposite. And like one method that we use to guarantee a fixed rate. The other is we also just tokenize the floating rate yield of a deposit, such that anyone can come and uh, buy buy out the interest stream up front, such that like this deposit is guaranteed to earn this much interest, and whoever bought the interest stream will receive all of the floating rate interest generated by this deposit.
Right. Yeah. That definitely makes sense. I guess like piggybacking off that, could you kind of explain on what you or kind of elaborate on like what you envision being like the future of DeFi going forward? I heard you mentioned like tokenizing future yield. Do you think that's like the way or the direction that DeFi is going next, or do you have other ideas?
Um, yeah, like first of all, like no one really knows anything in crypto, so do take my words with a grain of salt. But like the future of DeFi is not necessarily like any area in particular, but it's more of like a pattern of how DeFi projects will operate. I think like so far we've seen many DeFi projects just grow their governance, their yeah like having their token holder governance built out, uh, and like token holders make decisions on their treasury. That's one pattern. And I think in the future, at least in the next couple years, the pattern will kind of shift to something uh like people are going to discover that having more centralized governance models is going to be like more acceptable. Like if you look at like projects like Spell, for instance, Spell MIM, uh, that is like incredibly centralized, but people are still okay with it because of the utility that it can provide to users. So that's probably one trend. Like people are going to figure out that like the DeFi users don't care that much about decentralization. At least like a lot of new users that are going to come, they only care about like what kind of rewards that they can get, what kind of yield they can get, and the whole user experience. So that's one thing. That's one trend that I think will happen. The other is that I think DeFi projects will start to try and build a more like comprehensive brand. Like first of all, I think like I want to make the prediction that like all like well, not all, but like the vast majority of DeFi projects in the next couple years will have like an NFT projects that's like directly associated with the project and will be used for, branding and such, kind of like the mascot of the world. Because like the reason I think this will happen is that one, like NFTs can really like help capture the the perceived subjective value of the protocol. That's currently just being uh currently projects to build up their subjective value using memes and such. But I think NFTs will help attract the subjective, like increase the perceived value of these projects, because of how easy it will be to promote the projects, to explain it to people. Like it's like 100 times easier to explain to someone like what and to show someone an NFT of your project than to explain like, oh, like I'm doing this is a this weird finance thing.
Yeah,
um
that totally makes a lot of
yeah.
sense. I saw your post about your blog post
Hmm.
about the subjective and objective value too, and I think that's um super insightful. Do you have or do you have like any examples of like a protocol right now that is already doing that, or do you think it's still like in the very baby stages?
There are definitely projects like DeFi projects that are releasing an NFT at the same time and promoting it a lot. So like just like I think like Tempus is a project that like it's like a new project that I just randomly saw, and they have like just a bunch of profile pictures immediately like uh available at launch. There's also Babylon.finance, which is a more involved example. Like they're giving like fee sharing and governance power, and like a whole bunch of to the NFTs that they're currently auctioning off. Uh, so it's definitely like an existing thing. But right now, like the bigger projects like Compound Ave, Rari, they don't really have their own like NFT offerings. I guess like Sushi is like they don't have Sushi NFTs per se. Like they're building out like NFT uh like uh platforms like show you, right? Mm,
Hmm.
so yeah, like existing trend, I expect it to be much more prevalent.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I guess backtracking to like more like principle or like fundamental understanding of why like a project might issue like an NFT or a token. Like, could you kind of explain the purpose of like tokens of DeFi projects? I guess it includes like some basic things like governance and stuff, but is there any additional like value accrual mechanism for tokens in general?
Yeah, I mean, it this is a much more complicated topic than one might think. Because like if you look at, for instance, the Uniswap token, right? It doesn't really have any utility or value accrual, but it's still worth a whole ton just because it's, the main token of Uniswap, and Uniswap is a product that, basically everyone in the space values. So yeah, like it's less appropriate to think about these DeFi tokens as, say, shares in a company, than to think about them as just kind of horses in a race, basically. Like like if you like, you know, a horse, you would just back it in the race, regardless of like its objective properties. Uh, so like Uniswap is, you know, a big example. Well, it's literally a unicorn. Um, but yeah, like value accrual in this space, like to your token in this space, like doesn't really matter that much in terms of how it affects the price. In fact, like it might be more advantageous for a token to not have any like actual value accrual mechanisms at all, like Uniswap, compared to one where, you know, you diligently dish out, you know, any income your protocol has to all the token holders. Because like if you have income, like it's like the famous Silicon Valley the show scene where like if you have income profit, then they're gonna ask how much, and it's never gonna be enough.
Yeah, that makes total sense. So I guess by the same token, like what is the purpose slash intention of having the MPH token for the 88 Merkle?
Yeah, despite what I just said, MPH actually has like all the protocol fees accruing to the token holders. So yeah, like might have served us better if it was just a complete meme to like Uniswap. In retrospect, um, but yeah, like MPH is also like the protocol governance. Like we have focused less on governance so far, just to get like the product that we want to offer built out. But like uh, right now we're doing a whole bunch of multi-chain deployment stuff. After that is done, we expect to like shift gears into growing the governance and yeah, like making it like much more like like a compound Aave, etc., with an active governance community.
Yeah, yeah. So I guess by deploying to multiple chains, you're subscribing to the I guess like now widely accepted uh, outlook that there's going to be like a multi-chain future, and a lot of users will be spread among them.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a recurring pattern. Like right now, there's already tons of projects that are doing it. Sushi being one prominent example. Uh, the reason for this is that like if you have a very successful product on one and you don't, you know, rigid, you know, redeploy it on other chains, then someone's just gonna fork it, deploy it, and you know they're most likely gonna launch their own token that's going to suck away like all the values that you know you had on that other chain. Like I think like Uniswap is like one example of, I guess, how not to do this. I mean, I don't want to like bash on them because like I understand why they're not doing multi-chain. Like they really focus on, you know, a roll-up centric future, which I respect. But like from like, but also like just from observations, like you have like, for instance, QuickSwap, right? QuickSwap is just a straight up Uniswap fork on Polygon, and like it's exactly the same like if you look at their product offering, uh but like their worth, I have no idea how much they're worth right now, but let me just quickly check. Oh yeah, their market cap is 135 million, and yeah, that's a lot of money that could have been Uniswap's. So yeah, like it just like if you have a valuable service, it makes sense to offer it to, all the chains where you might have users.
Right, right. I guess this is kind of sidetracking from the DeFi DAO discussion a little bit, but um, could you explain a little bit more on like I guess why you respect the decision of Uniswap focusing like on more like roll-up centric um, like scaling solutions?
Yeah, because like with uh with most of the side chains of Ethereum and like just EVM compatible chains, um they're really like the, the reason that they're cheap is either like the reason that transactions on those chains are much cheaper than on Ethereum is either through just much more a more centralized infrastructure, like, and that's what Polygon I think is doing. That's what the Binance Smart Chain is like one big example of a very very centralized chain. Um, and like that's like a trade-off that they're making, and it's very understandable why a project might not want to be associated with Binance Smart Chain, for example, just because of how centralized it is and like how, like, I guess unsustainable their chain scaling model is compared to like Ethereum. Like what they've done is like they've just tweaked a bunch of parameters to make it more centralized. Uh, and yeah, like can definitely understand why a project won't want to deploy on those chains. There's also like just chains with completely different architectures, like Avalanche and Phantom. They this is well, like, yeah, I guess like the reasoning behind why you might not want to deploy on those chains is that they're like Ethereum has been here since 2014, and the way like it's a chain with the most users, the most activity, and the longest history of you know being run successfully. And it's also like very obvious where its scaling woes are and how it plans to scale in the near term future. Whereas for these new chains, like right now, they are cheap, but they also have far fewer users and far less activity. So it's unclear that like their new chain models are going to provide them with a significant scaling advantage compared to Ethereum once they actually have similar levels of activity. Whereas for Ethereum, like they have, as I said, a very clear uh, agenda for how they plan to scale, and that's with rollups. And it's like very commonly agreed upon that rollups are gonna provide a much like a really large scaling boost, uh, without sacrificing too much in terms of decentralization and security. So like I can definitely understand why Uniswap only wants to deploy on rollups because like if you're Uniswap, like you might think that like all these alt chains are kind of just a fad, and once their activity picks up, they're going to be just as bad in terms of gas price as Ethereum. So why would you bother with that when you can when rollups are already very much here with Arbitrum, and a lot more are coming, like ZK Sync and Optimism.
Yeah, yeah, that makes total sense. I actually just saw that tweet that I think Owen like retweeted one of your old tweets today about like, ZK Sync. Did you like kind of see this coming from like a mile away? Like, did you see? I guess did you expect like rollups to come as quickly as they did, or was it? I mean, was it like expected?
Um, it wasn't. really that expected. Like with ZK Sync, back when I first learned about it, like more than a year ago now, it was just for transfers, which was interesting. Like cheap transfers are good, but they're like they didn't really have smart contracts in their mainnet. I think they had support on their testnet, but yeah, like ZK Sync was, I think, much less interesting back then, and everyone was saying that, oh, like ZK rollups are not gonna have full EVM support until like much later down the road. Whatever pitching was optimistic rollups, and it turned out that optimistic rollups was so there were kind of two surprises. One is that optimistic rollups took much more time and effort to launch than what everyone expected. Like the tech for like the basic idea for optimistic rollups was much simpler compared to zero knowledge rollups, which involved a whole ton of cryptography. Um, so yeah, like Arbitrum was like, I think Optimism was supposed to launch like this May, if I recall correctly, and right now, like I have no idea when they're ever gonna like launch a completely like permissionless mainnet with fraud proof enabled. Like right now, like their Optimism's mainnet doesn't even have fraud proofs enabled, which is like the one thing that's really vital to a roll up. Like you should be able to prove that the central node is misbehaving, if it is actually misbehaving, and get your money back. But that's not actually. But I digress. The other surprise is that ZK, like implementing a ZK rollup that has full EVM support, is like took much less time than what everyone expected. Like mostly thanks to ZK Sync. Uh,
Shout out.
like yeah, yeah. Like I think like everyone expected like it's gonna come out in 5 years or something. So optimistic rollups were like kind of a stopgap. But yeah, like now that ZK Sync is probably gonna launch their ZK EVM, like I don't know, like probably early next year. Like it, yeah, like I'm yeah, like I'm very, I guess, optimistic about their future.
Yeah, it's super exciting, and I guess I also didn't really see it coming that fast, given a lot of people or general consensus was that ZK was was years away. But I guess like with all the scaling solutions, do you see that being or like ZK or one of these scaling solutions on for Ethereum, like the rollups, to be like a catalyst for the next wave of DeFi usage or DeFi like uptick in DeFi users?
Um, I mean, that really depends on like what your thesis is, right? Like if your thesis is that, oh, like DeFi usage like is gonna pick up, and m- many more people are gonna enter the DeFi space as users, if the fees were just much lower. But that's already like being tested by the side chains, and it would seem that this thesis is correct. Like if you have lower fees, you're gonna have much more usage from those like the smaller users. Like not everyone has millions of dollars in crypto. So yeah, like most of the new users are gonna have something around a few hundred or maybe a few $1,000, and it doesn't really make sense for them to use Ethereum at all, actually, because like a single trade will cost you like over $100. Uh, so yeah, like with rollups, I think like the story is not as like just cut and dry as what Uniswap and other like roll-up maximalists might expect, because like if you think about it, uh, like a roll-up to a user is just another chain, right? To them, like, oh, like there's different, there's Polygon, there's Phantom, there's Avalanche, but there's also Arbitrum and ZK Sync and Optimism. These are going to be viewed as mostly the same by most regular users, I think. Like I don't think like your mom and dad are going to care about, oh, like ZK Sync is a zero knowledge proof based
That would be
rollup,
awesome if
whereas
they said that.
Binance Smart Chain is like this other thing. They're not going to care. They're only going to care about how much are your fees, how quick are your transactions, what's the performance of your chain. The second thing they're going to care about is, oh, like what products are there on this chain that I can use. So if you think about it using this framework, like it's much less clear that rollups are going to actually win the day. Because like right now with Arbitrum, their fees are like still a lot higher than some of the side chains that are slightly more centralized. Uh, and like there's also like not that much like activity on Arbitrum compared to say Phantom, Avalanche, Polygon, even Binance Smart Chain. Uh, so yeah, like the roll-ups definitely have better technology, better security, and just better scalability overall. But
Yeah.
at least like in the beginning, like they need to compare like on a relatively fair playing ground with the other chains in terms of attracting users, attracting projects, attracting TVL.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't exactly see like some of these roll-ups raising massive like developer funds or like funding, um, I guess development on their roll-up.
Well, if Arbitrum is coming up with a token, oh
Then we'll see. Yeah,
yeah,
airdrops
we'll
for
see,
days.
we'll see. But like
Yeah.
yeah, like fairly like it's not yeah like it's not like once the roll-ups are all out and mature. Like I don't think it's like I think there's still gonna be like multiple side chains that are competing with the roll-ups.
Hmm.
I guess like once crypto usage and DeFi usage reaches like a point where like you really really care about scalability, because all these other chains uh they're hitting their scaling bottlenecks, just like Ethereum, and they're gonna have like super expensive fees, whereas roll-ups are still going to remain cheap because of how much more scalable they are. Then like roll-ups are going to win, but only because they can offer faster transactions and cheaper fees.
Yeah.
Like security is something that us nerds care about, but not really something that like regular users are going to care about that much.
Hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. I guess we can start moving on to talking about DAOs now. I saw that you were quite involved in a few DAOs. Um, could you kind of just explain for those that don't know, like what a DAO is, very simply, and why are they important? But then also like explain a little bit about your experience with each DAO you're working with.
Yeah, so DAOs is short for Decentralized Autonomous Organization, and it's it's still pretty hard to characterize exactly what they are, because in my opinion, DAOs are still in very much their early days compared to, how much DeFi has grown. Like, you could say that, the governance of DeFi protocols like, Aave, Compound, Wire, and etc. are like DAOs. Uh, but that's like, but like each of those protocols have, their own like core team behind, and some of them even, have, companies, like in legal sense. uh, and it's, yeah, like they, like, a lot of them aren't really decentralized or autonomous, they're just organizations. So just because you use a token to vote on things doesn't mean it's a DAO. uh, and so, like, yeah, like protocol governance are one area where we're seeing like voting and sometimes DAOs. uh, there's also like just DAOs for kind of the sake of DAOs. So that's what you see with stuff like Moloch DAO, Meta Cartel, and these DAOs. They're just kind of like friend groups with a shared bank account, basically. Uh, yeah, that's basically what they are. Like, you just have a bunch of people who, probably know each other, and you just come together into this more formal organization, and you can put your money together to, to fund things, or just to, give donations, or whatever it is you want, really. Like, for instance, like, uh yeah, like Meta Cartel, like spun out Meta Cartel Ventures, and that's just like a complete, like, a fully, like, VC DAO, basically. Meta Cartel today is still like just uh giving grants to projects that are doing cool things. So yeah, this is one other usage of DAOs. Uh then you have like other like community DAOs that are, yeah, like it's much harder to call them DAOs, even though many of them have DAOs in their name. For instance, Olympus DAO, and, all the they usually have DAOs in their name. Those are not really DAOs in like the traditional sense. Like, you're not going to have like on-chain voting with any of them. A lot of them are just kind of controlled by a multi-sig that responds to decisions made using, say, snapshot voting. Uh, and yeah, like, these are just basically Discord servers. Yeah, like, they're basically just Discord servers. uh, and nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. But definitely different from the traditional, like, definition of DAOs. Like, they are, I guess, decent. Yeah, like, I'm not really sure if I can call them autonomous.
Yeah.
But then again, like, I think these DAOs are like, yeah, like, these community DAOs are what's, I guess, seeing the most traction right now. Like, if you look at, all the various forks and Olympus DAO itself, like, there's a ton of activity, people trying to contribute, and that's not really something seen in like either, protocol governance DAOs, or just, friend group kind of DAOs. And I think it's very interesting to see, uh because it goes to show that, like a few years back, like, everyone was, saying that, oh, like, to have a DAO you just need, some on-chain voting, some shared bank account, this and that. But turns out that those are really secondary to the human factor. Like if you can spin up like a vibrant community of people just trying to do things to contribute to a shared vision, a shared goal, then it doesn't matter at all what tools you use, or if you have an actual like on-chain presence, like an on-chain entity at all. Like I guess like any group of people uh, can be called like a DAO in this sense.
Yeah. So, you are involved in a couple DAOs. Could you kind of explain like what you do there, what membership entails?
Um, uh, to be honest, you're asking the wrong member of those DAOs because I don't participate that much in the day to day. Like I do like go to like IRL events if they happen. Like back in September, I went to MCon, which was organized by Meta Cartel. And I think Raid Guild too, and that was very cool. Got to meet all the people in the DAOs. But yeah, like
Yeah,
like I don't really like vote a lot, for instance,
mm-hmm.
just
Yeah,
because like how much effort it takes, as well as like I trust most of the people in those styles to make a good decision.
yeah, yeah. That makes total sense. Um, yeah, so I guess a really unrelated question to anything, but um, like we were talking about like how like moms and dads are, not gonna really care about what like different chains and whatnot if they actually get on board to DeFi, and that's a pretty big if. Do your parents know about like your ventures in crypto and like the projects that you built out?
Yeah, I do tell them about it. They don't completely understand what it is I'm doing, but they're definitely very supportive. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
that must be awesome. But really hard to explain.
mhm. Yeah, they themselves are not really in crypto though. Like I just I'm just the crypto person in the family, I guess.
That's awesome. Yeah. So I guess I'm just gonna go on to like one or two miscellaneous questions, unrelated to DeFi and DAOs, and then we can open the floor up for the audience to ask a question if they please. So I guess this is like a more project related slash dev related question. How did you like think of the idea of 88 MPH, and how did you go from like that idea to what it is today, or like even 88 MPH V1?
Well, like the idea came to us in like late 2019. Like I came up with the original idea. Like I just thought because like compound was a hot thing back then. It like they just launched their V2 recently, so I was like, like with this compound thing, I could like do some like interest rate swap pretty like somewhat easily. But then like back then, like what I thought of was like just peer-to-peer interest swaps, which was not interesting because like in crypto you really don't want like peer-to-peer models. You want peer-to-contract models, like Compound, Uniswap, etc. Uh, so like I just kind of abandoned the idea, but then in early 2020, like I then thought, oh, like what if like we just pull all the deposits together and offer them like some fixed rates, and that turned out to be the model that we're using today. uh, so yeah, like we first just launch like a proof of concept on mainnet that didn't have like yield tokenization or anything, or even a token. It was just like allowed people to pull their deposits together, and then like they can get a fixed rate. But then like that wasn't really successful, and like we knew that if we only relied on like this polling model, it wasn't gonna be sustainable because of how like it's not really it can't really handle a black swan event where all the interest rates just drop to straight to zero or something. So we spent a whole bunch of time in like improving the contracts and adding more features, more security features, and that resulted in our launch in November of 2020. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. And yeah, I guess your background in programming definitely allowed you to like put that idea to deploy it into an actual project, which is awesome. Another question that I had, which is also unrelated to like any specific concept, is um, I read like your writing on your personal website about the subjective versus objective value, and just other theses that you have. How do you develop that sort of like critical thinking, I guess? Since like I guess it's really easy to go on Twitter, see what other people are talking about, and kind of assume like their opinion. How do you find it, or how do you find those insights and like I guess stick with them?
Um, yeah, like I guess like you just need to see things for what they are instead of what people are telling you that they are. And then you just yeah, like I do have a bit of philosophy background. Like I was very into philosophy like a while ago, like in high school. So like like you just start from like some basic facts and principles, and you just kind of derive from there, basically. Uh, but also, like, yeah, just you just need to observe like the situation as it is, and kind of see through the bullshit and people who are incentivized to say what they say. Uh, and then like you just need to think really hard about it, and try to come up with like a cohesive framework for explaining what is currently happening and the kind of trend that you're observing with the current situation.
Yeah, and I guess putting it to writing or putting it into writing definitely helps with that too.
Yeah, definitely helps. Like it helps you just figure out exactly what you want to say, and helps you discover like the logical inconsistencies in your thinking.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. If you guys haven't read his post, then I highly recommend. I guess right now we can open up the floor to anybody that has any questions for Zefram. So I guess you can just raise your hand, and Nor will bring you up. Yeah,
Kyle, you should be able to speak.
Awesome, great. I saw Zefram in here, and it's a pleasure to finally get to know you. My online alias is Cal, but my name is Henry. I'm friends with Owen, and Owen spoke really, really highly of you, Zefram, like all day, every day, and
Nice.
awesome. Yeah, no, wonderful, very, very insightful talk. First of all, Thanks to Blockchain Acceleration Foundation, Cam. You asked some really great questions. Yeah, I mean, like I see some people in the audience here, I think, that are probably also pretty new to this space. Besides the resources that you put on there, for example, you said Metacartel, and also the other project that I wrote down. Let's see, what it's called Lock as well. What other resources would you say are out there as far as people want more literature to, if they want to build their own DAO?
If you want to build your own DAO, I guess like the best way to do it is to learn more about it is to just like actually like go to a DAO's like Discord server and etc. Ask questions and see how things are organized, see what people are doing. Because like as I said, the most successful DAOs today are really just Discord servers or Telegram groups. And like if you like yeah, like it doesn't make that much sense to look at say what framework they're using, what they have on chain. It just makes more sense to see like exactly what the people are doing, because the people is the most important in the DAO equation.
So I know right masters at UCSD, right? You're wrapping up US masters.
Yep.
And so I know you guys have the blockchain at UCSD, or I'm not too sure what you guys call it. Have you guys been a student DAO at your university?
Yeah, we actually are thinking about that, but I definitely feel like our group is not experienced enough to do that yet. So our focus right now is more on the education side. So we run like an internal education program where we like train our own or train the internal members to eventually potentially create a DAO or receive like governance delegation from our partners. But that's definitely in the books. I think it's just very early days for us.
That's awesome. Yeah, because I'm the co-founder of a club on campus at Berkeley called DeFi at Berkeley, and we're in discussion of we're like doing the same thing, right? We're providing a lot of education and a little bit separate than blockchain at Berkeley. Great organization, but they're extremely exclusive. They take like maybe about 10 to 12 students per semester, and they get hundreds of applicants. So for us, what we decided to do was we wanted to make more inclusive, because instead of like, I'm sure you guys probably hear about the clubs at Berkeley. They're super competitive to get in and really cutthroat. And we wanted to be like, hey, as long as you're not a creep, we'll take you in, right? And we want to educate you and give you the resources, provide the resources. And we've been able to create a really nice group of individuals. I mean, we built this during the middle of the pandemic. So we want to be able to scale this more and probably bring on more funding. We're thinking maybe possibly a DAO would be a way where we could raise more funding to scale these educational efforts to educate more people on campus.
Yeah, that makes sense. Zefram, have you heard about like the DAOs that are popping up like for each school? Like there's Harvard's one coming out. There's obviously Columbia's one. Do you have any any like input on that?
I'm not sure about the DAOs, but I am like pretty familiar with the blockchain at UCLA people. Like I'm friends with a lot of them. Uh, so like as I said, like I I'm not really sure if having a DAO is necessary. Like uh, because like if you already have your group of people who are trying to do the same thing, like any kind of tooling is fine. Um, Yeah, and I think like a lot of blockchain clubs right now are just like instead of being their own DAO, they're like getting uh, getting governance power delegated to them by like uh, other like by VCs and other groups. And yeah, like they're just voting in Aave, Compound, etc.'s governance. I think that's like a very big trend right now. But yeah, like I'm not sure about how much sense it makes for like blockchain clubs to have a DAO, because well, you're already a club. Like you can like it's not really decentralized at all. Like do you really want like random people on the internet joining, for instance?
So the idea for this was more for great. First of all, great insight, Zefram and Cam. I like how refreshing it is, Zefram, how you mentioned how you don't have to necessarily dial everything, which is on a contrary view of what I'm sure you guys hear about Koopa Troopa. He's just like dial everything, right? But I love your insights, Zefram, on how you gave another insight. You may not necessarily need to dial everything. So the idea of what we've been thinking about is more so necessarily outside of but more so this whole student-ran organization, very similar to how Columbia Lion DAO, how USC they have Trojan DAO, and so or we could, because like for example, like blockchain at Berkeley, they have their fundamentals of blockchain videos on YouTube, and anyone outside of the university could access them. So what we're thinking was the governance. You have to be a student in order. You have to own the tokens. Also, be a student in order to have governance rights. And for as far as who wants to be a part of it, I think it could be also alumni, but also people around the world as well if they want to invest into it.
Yeah, I think that definitely makes sense. But yeah, I think it could still be explored more. Like in addition to capital, what do DAO members actually like also contribute? But yeah, that's awesome. I think Kunal had a question too.
Hey, I'm Kunal. I had a question for Zefram. At MPH is like a fixed interest rate lending, right? So like it's comparable to like Notion, but like you also give away your own token. Like, can you like explain it more?
Yeah, like our model is very different from Notion's. Notion has basically kind of their own closed system where you have lenders and borrowers, and the fixed interest really comes from the people who are borrowing from you. Whereas for ADMPH, we do not directly do any kind of borrowing on our end. We only do lending, and we use protocols such as Aave, Compound, Wiren, and others in order to get a floating rate yield. And we basically like ADMPH is basically an intermediate for converting a floating rate yield into a fixed rate yield, and we can do this with pretty much any source of yield. So yeah, that's like the main difference.
So you only using Aave then for your floating rate?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
So you're only using Aave then for getting floating rate liquidity?
Not just Aave. Aave is one of the protocols that we use. We also Compound, Wire, and others.
Oh, okay. Okay, just like a basket of lending protocols.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Also, like you started in like DeFi as a developer, right? How much of your
Yes.
role is still being a developer in like right now?
Yeah, I'm still very much a developer. Like, yeah, like for at ADMPH, I'm still like the main contract developer. And like on the other projects that I'm working on, I'm also like doing a lot of smart contracts because like it's just like really fun to do. And
Mm-hmm.
also, if I may say so myself, I'm very good at writing smart contracts.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
So,
so
how
yeah.
much of your role is like reading other smart contracts? How much like just different protocols which come up with, and like have you like do you do like bug bounties too, or like that just takes up too much time?
No, not really. I mostly put my efforts into like just building cool things. Like
Uh,
yeah, I don't really do like audits or bug bounties.
okay, I see. Also love the reference to like from Back to the Future, right? That's in Why It's 88 Miles.
Yes, exactly. I'm
Yeah,
glad you mentioned that.
Yeah, the UI is awesome.
yeah,
Does anyone else want to
yeah. Thanks for
ask a
joining us.
question?
Kunal, Zefram is one of the best developers, honestly. Like from what I hear from somebody that I really respect and look up to in this industry, and yeah. So just letting you know, whatever he's doing, he's top of the game.
Respect.
Thank you,
Does anyone
sir.
else have a question for Zefram? You can raise your hand or put any emoji.
Zefram, we need to get together and go get some hot pot soon with Owen.
Yeah, for sure. Like soon.
I need to intro you to all the other blockchain peeps here at Berkeley. I think they'll love you.
Oh, I'll look forward to it. Yeah.
All right. I guess nobody else has any questions. Yeah, obviously, there's a lot more questions that I'd love to ask you, but don't want to keep you for too long. Just thank you so much for talking to us today. Looking forward to talking to you in the future and potentially even in person if that's possible. So yeah, thank you guys for coming. Thank you to Bath for making this possible, and obviously check out Zefram from Twitter to his website to 88MPH. He has really cool insights and awesome tweets. So yeah, I'm sure you're following him anyways though.
And don't forget to follow Cam and blockchain. Don't forget to follow Cam, the cute face with the sunglasses, Zefram, and blockchain Acceleration Foundation.
Yes, sir.
Yep. Thank you guys for coming. Also, make sure to join us on Discord and join our newsletter to see what we're up to. Thanks for everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys. Thank you, Zefram.